Here we are at day whatever. I think they were in the lime for 3 weeks, and I've probably been rinsing them and scudding them for about a week, maybe, I don't really know. Anyway, there's a slight cloudiness to this water, which isn't great. And 2 days ago, they had an odor of kind of like a wet dog, but now there's actually a little bit of smell of decay starting. So I would have liked to have gotten them dried yesterday, but some stuff got in the way. So right now what we're gonna do is give them a final clean rinse, throw them on the beam, and just push out some of the water so that they'll dry faster, and then cut them into pieces and dry them on a line. All right, so final rinse with the hose to get off any little bits of stuff that floated into the soaking tub. And now I'm just gonna go over this and scud out excess water, of which there's quite a bit. So every drop of water that I push out of the skin on the beam here is another drop that doesn't have to evaporate when it's drying on the line. And as soon as this is done, I'll cut them into smaller pieces, just, you know, handy pieces that are easy to cook basically, and dry them on a line. There's a very slight cloudiness to the liquid. At this point, I really doubt any significant quantity of that is lime or other very undesirable substances. It's also very little. I mean, it's not milky, it's just a little bit cloudy and hazy. So I'm not too worried about that, but it's coming, overall the water looks pretty clean. That's you know, the water that I'm scraping out of the skin. And I think ideally I would be doing this process, you know, soaking in fresh water and then scudding out at least once a day and up to twice a day. You could speed it along by doing it many times a day, but I think there's, you know, there's a point of diminishing returns basically, where you're not giving the skin long enough in the water for the lime to leach out into the water more. So you may get it done faster, but I think you do more work in the long run. But doing it once in the morning and once in the evening, say, I think that would be totally fine and probably a good thing. In my case, I just don't want to lose any hide substance, and I don't want the finished glue to smell bad. And there is a slight odor of decay now that wasn't here 2 days ago and was less strong yesterday. But it's really only over in the soaking water. Like if I smell this right now, it just smells kind of like wet, like a wet animal. So I think it's fine, but if circumstances permitted, I would prefer to do this process at least once a day and up to twice a day. This kind of quick scudding like this is mostly what I've been doing for the last couple of times. A few times back, a few rinses back, I quit going over the hair side because nothing really was coming out, you know, not much in the way of hair roots. And it's this side, the flesh side, that holds more water, and the water passes out of it more easily because the fiber structure is more open. So there's a little bit of, you know, if I scrape hard, there's a little bit of membrane coming off still, little bits of stuff. Nothing I would worry about for making glue. And if I was making leather, I would just tan this, and then when it was finished, I would go back over it and kind of scrape that stuff off because it would come off much easier once it's tanned. Alright, it's time now to cut this skin into pieces, and I'm basically going to cut it into pieces that are a convenient size to boil. Some people cut their skin into really small bits for making glue. I think on the theory that it will dissolve faster. I'm not sure I've ever done that. I don't think it's necessary. In my experience, it isn't necessary, so I'm not going to do that. I am going to save a piece for an experiment though. So basically, the process that we've gone through up to this point is the same process that I would use essentially for making bark tanned leather or rawhide. So the things I would have done different is I would have used a duller tool on the hair side at every step, because the tool I was using is a little bit on the sharp side, but again, I wasn't worried about the grain, so I didn't bother. But the smooth grain on the hair side is fragile, and when you tear it, it's torn for good. You know, it's not going to heal back up, so it's always going to look bad on your leather or whatever. So I'd have been more careful with that, and I would have possibly done the liming a little bit different depending on the circumstances for making bark tan. So I wouldn't, other than that and cutting these divots in the flesh side because I was all gung-ho with the sharp scraper and not being careful, I wouldn't hesitate to use this, you know, to throw it in a bark solution to make leather out of it, or you know, use it for rawhide, like if I needed a drum head or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to do this experiment, I think. We'll see. But I just want to cut out one good section that I'm going to pick out, and I'm going to do an experiment with molded bark tanned leather thing. I'll probably do another video or explain it somewhere sometime. So for now, let's just get this thing cut up. So there's my one good piece, I think. I just wanted to show you this for kicks real quick. This is probably the neck, I would assume. Check that out. Compared to my fingers, pretty thick. So let's take a real close look here, and you can see that the skin is made up of a network of fibers, and that's collagen, and that's what we're going to dissolve into solution to make glue with. But it also forms the foundation of leather. And it has unique properties that no other material has.